أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين فاطر السماوات والأرضين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين المبعوث رحمة للعالمين شفيع المذنبين وحبيب قلوب الصادقين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الأطيبين الأطهرين الهداة المهديين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى قيام يوم الدين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي أما بعد فقد قال الله عز وجل في القرآن المجيد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وقل جاء الحق وزهق الباطل إن الباطل كان زهوقا وننزل من القرآن ما هو شفاء ورحمة للمؤمنين ولا يزيد الظالمين إلا خسارا صلوا على محمد وآل محمد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Before we begin today's majlis, I would like to request all of you to recite a Surah Fatiha for the marhumin whose name I will mention, marhum Haydar Basravi, son of Taha Basravi, marhum Mirza Asghar Raza Beg, son of Mirza Asghar Beg, and marhuma Sabira Begum, daughter of Mashhur Ali. For these marhumin, for your own marhumin, and for all deceased believers, please recite a Surah Fatiha masbuqatan bis salawati ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Jazakallah. In today's majlis, I would like to discuss a very important topic, and inshallah we will begin the discussion briefly today and then continue it tomorrow, and maybe in future sessions we will continue that discussion, which ties together our relationship to Quran and our relationship to Ahlul Bayt and our understanding of how we are to live our life and make our decisions as a believer. And this is something which is a very comprehensive topic. You might think that these are separate topics. We talk about the Quran, then that is separate to our discussion of our relationship to Ahlul Bayt. And when we talk about Ahlul Bayt, then that is a discussion of history, it is a discussion of theology, it is a discussion of ideals, but it doesn't directly reflect on our life and our decision making. The conclusion that we would like to begin to understand is that there is no separation. Quran without Ahlul Bayt is not the Quran, it is just text. Any conception of Ahlul Bayt without the Quran is not Ahlul Bayt, because that is just history. Anybody can write a history of Ahlul Bayt, Muslim, non-Muslim, follower of Ahlul Bayt, or somebody who is not a follower of Ahlul Bayt, even people who do not accept the prophethood of our beloved Prophet Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. Salli ala Muhammad. in one element they do admire Imam Hussein. This is a unique kind of a blessing that Allah has given the name of Imam Hussein, that it inspires even those people who do not have an appreciation for our Prophet. Although the true message of Imam Hussein was nothing but a reflection and a continuation of the movement of Prophet Muhammad. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. You cannot separate them, but there is a beauty and a certain passion to the movement of Imam Hussein that it is recognized by those who do not recognize its foundation and its basis and its origin. But if you understand Imam Hussein without Islam, without the Prophet, without the Quran, then you have not truly understood Imam Hussein and fully understood Imam Hussein. He might inspire you in a movement for social justice, or a movement for political justice, or a movement for economic justice. And we find inspiration for all of that through Imam Hussein. But the movement of Karbala was not just because there is poverty. The movement of Karbala is not just because the environment is in danger. The movement of Karbala was not just because there are people in society who are marginalized and are unjustly imprisoned and treated unfairly by other members of society who are wealthier and more powerful, although that is part of Karbala. But Karbala in its essence is, as the Prophet said, Safinatun Najah, the ark of salvation. And because it is the ark of salvation, you have all of those other types of justice that we understand through Karbala. So the Quran and Ahlul Bayt cannot be separated. If you try to separate them, then the Quran is not the Quran. And Ahlul Bayt are not who they were and who they were created to be by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, this is from Hadith al-Thaqalain. Inni tarikun fikum al-Thaqalain. The Prophet said that I am leaving amongst you two things. Kitab Allah wa itrati ahl bayti. The book of Allah and my Ahlul Bayt. But the third element that I want us to also discuss is equally important. And sometimes this is the part that we forget. That when it comes to Ahlul Bayt, and when it comes to the Quran, it is not just a matter that they are united in themselves, but they are meant to be united in terms of our relationship to them and our inspiration from them for every decision that we make in our life. So the Prophet did not just say that Quran and Ahlul Bayt were together or lived together. لَن يَفْتَرِقَا حَتَّى يَرِدَا عَلَيَّ الْحَوْض. They shall never be separated from one another, not just in history, but until the day of judgment when they are united with the Prophet on the path to heaven. So there is a continuing path. The past and the present and the future are united in a relationship to Ahlul Bayt, in a relationship to the Quran. And in fact, this is one of the major mistakes that Muslims have made when it comes to understanding the Quran. If you look at the relationship of Muslims to the Quran, one of the major mistakes that they have made is that they have forgotten that the Quran is not a book that was revealed for history. And therefore, the primary question that we should ask about the Quran is not when was a verse revealed. The primary question that we should ask about the Quran is what decisions in my life was this verse revealed in order to illuminate? This is where we come from, that connection that the Quran has with Ahlul Bayt to the connection that both of them have for us. That mistake is encapsulated very beautifully in a hadith from our fifth Imam, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salatu wassalam. Imam al-Baqir says that there are Muslims who take pride in their relationship to the Quran. They are hafiz of Quran. They are qari' of Quran. They recite, they do tajweed, they memorize, they attend classes in which they will discuss the tafsir of the Quran. So they have a connection to the Quran. Maybe they attend Taraweeh prayers and they recite the entire Quran in Salat, and they take pride in this. The Imam says, this is our fifth Imam, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salatu wassalam, speaking. أقاموا حروفه وأضاعوا حدوده. أضاعوا from إزاء, Zaya. And you say in Urdu, Zaya karna, the same root in Arabic. أقاموا حروفه. The huruf, the letters, the text of the Quran, the outer expression of the Quran, they have established it. The Quran is the only book that we can say was widely transmitted in history, and we have a full awareness of its recitation and the variance in its recitation and its tafsir from 1400 years ago. Even tribal differences where some people would stretch and some people would not stretch. If you read Surah Al-Fatiha, for example, وَلَضَّالِّينَ. It's all one word, but there are different ways to recite it. So scholars of the Quran have discussed in detail, how do you pronounce the letter Dad? And how did different Arabic tribes pronounce this one letter? And then how do you pronounce the shadda on lam? And how long do you stretch the alif on waladdallin? And how do you pronounce the noon? So all of those details, these are the huruf of the Quran. Then we have a discussion about the revelation of these verses. When was a particular surah revealed? This is a detailed discussion. Surah Al-Fatiha in particular. Was it revealed in Mecca? Was it revealed in Medina? Was it revealed numerous times in both places? So it is neither a Meccan surah nor a Medinan surah, or that it is both, because it was revealed multiple times by Allah to console and to guide the Prophet and the Muslims. So there is a detailed discussion of this revelation of Surah Al-Fatiha and many other verses. But Imam Baqir says that this is all the huruf of the Quran. It's important. So to be able to recite the Quran correctly, and then to be able to recite the Quran beautifully is important. There is no reason that we can say that we can ignore the Arabic language, we can ignore the rules of qira'at and tajweed because it's just the huruf. This is important. But it is important because by preserving the huruf, you have access to the hudud of the Quran. And Imam Baqir says that when it came to hudud al-Quran, we are preserving all of these superficial examples in order to arrive at those hudud. This is where the Muslim Ummah forgot to give any attention and any thought and any study. What is the relevance of that verse to my life? The Quran says that Allah has cursed certain groups of people. La'natullahi ala al-kafirin. La'natullahi ala al-kadhibin. La'natullahi ala al-zalimin. Different groups have been cursed. And in some cases the Quran says that that curse should come from Allah and from the angels and from the Prophet and from the believers. Everybody should curse certain groups of people. Every Muslim recites those verses. La'natullahi ala al-zalimeen, everybody recites. But then there are some Muslims who say that don't go beyond that and say, I am going to curse this person because they are a zalim. Just say it in general. Among the Muslim community, there are those people, if you say, La'natullahi ala Yazid, they say, stop. Say, La'natullahi ala zalimeen. How do you know? Maybe God is going to forgive, na'udhu billah, even somebody like Yazid. Maybe he did tawbah, maybe he repented, maybe this, maybe that. So they say, La'natullahi ala zalimeen is fine. But if you say La'natullahi ala Yazid because he was one of the zalimeen, then this is something which is going beyond the limit. You cannot go that far. So the Quran now is a text. It has its huruf, which we will read, translate, explain, beautify, make into calligraphy. But it doesn't have hudud that we are going to make relevant to our own life. Don't extend it to your own life. The separation between the revelation of the Quran and the extension of the Quran. And this is exact opposite of the philosophy of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salatu wassalam. Muhammad and Alu Muhammad alayhimus salatu wassalam. Sallu ala Muhammad. The exact opposite. If you come to Ahlul Bayt, then they will not tell you first when was La'natullahi ala al-Zalimeen revealed. They will tell you first who are the Zalimeen that you should recognize and who are affecting your salvation in your time. When I say your time, I don't mean alive today. Yazid is alive because the children of Yazid and the followers of Yazid and the path of Yazid is still causing violence and aggression and terrorism today. So relevant today does not just mean people who are alive today. It means those crimes, those types of deviation that are alive today. That means that Yazid is still relevant to us in the present time and not just in history. Again, in a hadith from our fifth Imam, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salatu wassalam, when you do tafsir of the Quran, if you are focusing on who the verse was revealed for, and you say that this is the sha'nun nuzul or the sababun nuzul of the Quran, this is where it was revealed, the occasion of revelation. This verse was revealed here. This verse was revealed here. If this is how you approach the Quran, then every time a person dies, a verse of Quran will die. Every time a historical event comes to a conclusion, a verse of Quran will come to its conclusion and it will die. And the Imam says that if this were the case, then the Quran would be a dead book, not a living book. لَكِنَّهُ حَيٌّ يَجْرِي فِي الْآخِرِينَ كَمَا جَرَى فِي الْأَوَّلِينَ. But it is a living book, the Imam says. It applies to the later times just as it applied to the earlier times. If you need to know when a verse was revealed, it is only so that you will better understand whom it applies to in the future. Otherwise, it doesn't matter who it was revealed for. The historical occasion for when the verse was revealed is not what is important. What is important is what does this verse reveal to me about my life? What does it mean for me about my life? Otherwise, the history, it's just something that we can study, we can learn about, and maybe a non-Muslim knows it better than I do because they've studied it. They have a memory that I don't have. But when it comes to the living You cannot live the Quran if you are not a Muslim. So many people, when they read tafasir of Ahlul Sunnah, they find very detailed tafasir. And this is true. If you ever read a tafsir written by a scholar of the Sunni community, then you will find an entire encyclopedia of Islamic studies. You will find grammar. You will find linguistics. You will find the study of eloquence, what is known as rhetoric or balaghat, the eloquence of the Quran. You will find hadith. You will find fiqh, law. You will find theology. And you will find a detailed discussion of when was this verse revealed. Who was this verse revealed about? Sometimes tens of ahadith. If you look at those tafasir that talk about sha'nul nuzul, like ad-Durrul Manthur of Suyuti, then you might find for a single verse tens of ahadith. So the history, and it seems to be very comprehensive. And then you come to a Shi'i tafsir. Generally speaking, it will be more brief. And then generally speaking, what you will find is that whenever there is a mention of Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu, then that Shi'i tafsir will say that this is the progeny of the Prophet and the Shia of the progeny of the Prophet. Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu refers to Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa Shi'atu Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Whenever there is mention of zalimeen, whenever there is mention of the kuffar, then it refers to the enemies of Ahlul Bayt. And people have that question in their mind, that is this exaggerated? Is this overdone? Everywhere there is mention of good attributes, and the ahadith say this refers to the Prophet, this refers to Ahlul Bayt, this refers to the followers of Ahlul Bayt. And everywhere there is mention of evildoers, it refers to the enemies of Ahlul Bayt. Now, if you come from that perspective that what is important is hudud, is huruful Quran, then you might wonder, is this an exaggeration? Because it is true. Not every verse was revealed about an incident that involved the enemies of Ahlul Bayt or that involved the followers and the friends of Ahlul Bayt. Historically, that is true. In terms of the huruf of the Quran, that is accurate. But the point that Ahlul Bayt want us to understand is that more importantly for our lives, we have to know what is the extension of that verse that motivates and that affects our life. And in those terms, whenever you see attributes that are praised in the Quran, humility, piety, nobility, generosity, forgiveness, justice, mercy, then those are attributes that come from Ahlul Bayt and describe Ahlul Bayt and bring a person close to Ahlul Bayt. And so recognize the beauty of the teachings of Ahlul Bayt whenever you look at any of those positive attributes. And on the other side, any evil attribute. It is because of a separation from the teachings of Islam. It is because of a separation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and service to Allah. Or in other words, it is because of a separation from the path of Ahlul Bayt, which is the path of Tawheed and the path of Ubudiyah and service to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it is not that the Imam is saying historically, every verse about believers was revealed about the Shia, and every verse about the unbelievers was revealed about the enemies of Ahlul Bayt. What the Imams are saying is that when it comes to living your life, every verse that talks about good attributes, and anytime you see a good attribute in somebody else, then recognize that there is a reflection of the character of Ahlul Bayt within that person, within that good deed and that good action. That should bring you closer to a love and a connection to Ahlul Bayt. And if you see evil, then don't just say that this tyrant, this oppressive government, this evildoer is evil on their own. This is one of the games of shaitan, to make us think that there is no conspiracy and that there is no connection among evil. Because when we think that there is no connection, then we think that the solution also does not have to be connected. I think that I am suffering emotionally, so all I need is some medicine that will cure my emotional or my psychological ailment. If I feel that there is something missing in my life, then I might think that I need to go to therapy to figure out how to manage my emotions, how to manage my schedule, how to manage my diet, how to manage my finances. And this is what's missing, and it's making me unhappy. It's a game of shaitan to make you think that there is no connection among those different types of evil and those different types of temptation. And so then when we look for solutions, we look for half solutions. We look for partial solutions, we look for half solutions, and we might find a temporary solution. But we don't find a meaningful and a lasting and a permanent solution, because that permanent solution is not just for me to get my finances in order. If I'm not in debt, then I will be happy. It's not just for me to get my relationships in order. If I'm on speaking terms with my spouse and with my children, then my life will be happy. It is not just on terms of my health and my diet and my other superficial affairs. Those are all just a means. The worst statistics of depression, of suicide, and of unhealthy lifestyles often come from people who have all of those material needs met. This entire drama of the Supreme Court nomination, and sometimes it is so disgusting that a person wishes to turn off the news or click away that page that is mentioning the news of this current nomination process, but it is an illustration that here is a person who came from a respectable family, even a religious family by the standards of this society. They had material and physical and intellectual, educational resources, elite, high school, college, postgraduate education, and employment. Everything. But then you look just beyond the surface and you see that there is so much dirt, so much sadness, so much separation from a meaningful life, that you almost say, if a person didn't have that elite upbringing, if they didn't have that money, if they didn't have that health, maybe they would have thought about life more deeply and they might have made better decisions. And this is why Ahlul Bayt say, whenever you see the Quran talk about kufr, whenever the Quran talks about dhulm, then don't go here and there and say that it is caused by an election, it is caused by an oppression, it is caused by this. It is caused by a separation from God and from the wali, who is the authority granted by God on this earth. Know the origin of all of those problems. Unite your understanding of where goodness comes from and where evil comes from. And then you will find those superficial solutions to your problems. But you will not be unaware of the deeper solution to your problems. me just give you one example of what I'm speaking of, and we can see that clear difference between these two different approaches to the Quran. There is a message in Surah al-Hujurat. Surah al-Hujurat, for those of you who have read the surah and maybe you've heard lectures, it's a very popular surah for workshops on Islamic ethics, because this is a surah revealed in Medina when the Muslim community was expanding. And whenever there is an expansion, then that is when it is very important for us to look at our ethics. Right now, Shahe Najaf is embarking on an expansion project. And that means that as things grow, there are certain changes that come, there are certain new needs that come, and that change is always difficult for people. Sometimes we think that if our children could stay children, it would have been much better. They grow up and they rebel. They have their own opinions. They talk back to us. They might debate, and sometimes they may have a valid point, and we have to change our perspective or our thinking. And then we wish for them to remain children. But one of the easiest ways to alienate your children is that when they are young adults, you continue to treat them and talk to them and scold them as if they are children. You're not preserving their childhood. You're destroying your relationship now that they are adults. That expansion and that change is something that is healthy. So if you don't embrace it, then you are destroying the past and the future both. Even those memories will not be as pleasant if you don't preserve that relationship. So Surah al-Hujurat is one of those surahs that was meant to give the Muslims guidance when Islam was expanding, in the early days of the Prophet's migration to Medina. And that's why it's a very instructive surah, whether it be an institution that is expanding or even a family. As you enter into a new stage of life, even if you enter into a different relationship, then Surah al-Hujurat is one of those surahs that you should review, because it will remind you of how to embark on that new phase in your life as a Muslim. One of the verses in this surah is وَإِن طَائِفَتَانِ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ اقْتَتَلُوا فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَهُمَا. If there are two groups of believers that fight, then your job is to do islah bayn al-mu'minin. Nowadays, generally, what do people do when they see something going on? They bring out their phone and they say that I'm going to record it and I'm going to put it on the internet and maybe I'll become famous. Our first response often is to record, to be a bystander. But the first response of a Muslim whenever there is any kind of fitna is islah. فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَ أَخَوَيْكُمْ. Do islah between your brothers, between your community. Somebody says something that is negative. Maybe they're doing it out of an intention of fitna. Maybe they don't have an intention of fitna. Maybe they have a misunderstanding. Maybe they have a justified grievance. Somebody was harsh with them. Somebody was unfair with them. So whether it's fitna, whether it is ignorance, whether it is a justified grievance, you as a believer should try to do what you can to better that situation. وَإِن طَائِفَتَانِ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ اقْتَتَلُوا فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَهُمَا. Do islah between them. Find some way to reduce that antagonism and that hardship. Sometimes you can solve the problem. If a person is unaware, you can go and correct their misunderstanding. Sometimes it's not possible to fix it, but it is possible to prevent it from spreading. So when I'm listening to somebody, if I express interest and I'm smiling and I'm gossiping, then that encourages that bad impression to spread and to remain. But if I say that, inshallah, things will get better, I'm very sorry to hear that. If I can do something to help, but inshallah, tomorrow will be... If I use words that prevent that person from wanting to express antagonism and evil, correct misconceptions that exist, and try to fix that situation, then maybe not entirely, but at least one step will be better than the past. Once you fix the words, then gradually you will also change your feelings and your thoughts. And once your feelings and your thoughts begin to change, your actions will begin to change. Now, here is the point that I want to make about this verse. When was there a qital between the believers in the time of the Prophet? In the revelation of Surah Al-Hujurat, was there in طَائِفَتَانِ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ اقْتَتَلُوا? There was no qital. And ahadith, if you look at the Asbabun Nuzul, the occasion when this message was revealed, it said that in history there was a tribal dispute between the Aus and the Khazraj. The Aus and the Khazraj were two tribes of the Ansar. Two tribes of the Ansar that had been fighting among themselves for generations, because they were the two Arab tribes in Medina, and neither one of them was able to fully dominate the others. So they had allies among the other tribes, among the Jewish tribes that lived in Medina and in the vicinity of Medina, and sometimes Aus were a little bit ahead, and sometimes Khazraj were a little bit ahead, and they competed with each other, and they sometimes had fought wars against each other, battles with weapons and injuries and death. And then when Islam came, the Prophet said that all believers are brothers. They are all relatives of one another. Your citizenship is your faith community before all else. So you can be a member of a tribe. Today you can be a citizen of a country or another country. That's all fine. But your greatest identity and loyalty is your faith community, because you have chosen to believe in something and serve something greater than yourself. And through this, the Prophet healed those wounds. After Islam, in the time of the Prophet and after the time of the Prophet, never again did Aus and Khazraj fight a battle with weapons. But in the early days of Islam, especially since it was new, there was still a little bit of the old vendetta that remained. You'll find this even in our own families. Sometimes you have relatives that were feuding and somebody will make peace, that we have a wedding coming up, let's make peace, bring them together. And then sometime after they have formally made peace, one person will come back and say, but did you see how they didn't give me the proper respect? Did you see how they didn't honor me? So there's always a relapse. This is expected. But once you have made the initial peace, if you want it to be a lasting peace, then what's important is that there be some people in the family, some people in that circle of friends who say that we have to be the cement that keeps that bond present. Otherwise, if I say that I have done islah, and then you walk away, then it's going to unravel because it's still fresh. And this was the job of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salatu wassalam in the time of the Prophet. Sallallahu Muhammad wa Muhammad. Whenever there was a dispute between the Muhajirin and the Ansar, you can read history. Always, all of the Muhajirin, they gathered as a group. The first, second, third caliph and other respected Muhajirin. Look up al-Ashr al-Mubashshara. Those people take pride that these are the people of paradise, and find them in these disputes that took place between the Muhajirin and the Ansar. Now, first of all, this hadith of Ashara Mubashara, one problem is that it only mentions the Muhajirin, as if the Prophet had a family partiality and loyalty to members of Quraysh, and he didn't give Ansar equal footing. This is against the wording of the Quran and against the known seerah of the Prophet. But the other problem with this hadith is look at the character of these people. that when there was a dispute, they became members of their tribe. It's us against them. And Ahlul Bayt were the ones, Imam Ali, and before his martyrdom, Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, and Fadl ibn Abbas, the son of the Prophet's uncle, Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib, and other youth of Bani Hashim. They would take the side of the Ansar. They would come to the Muhajirin and say that if you think that the Ansar sometimes are harsh, then who accepts refugees among them and gives them an equal share in their own property? The richest country in the history of the world. It's very proud that it's the richest country in the history of the world. How many refugees do they accept? And if they give a small fraction of their GDP in foreign aid, then that becomes a very big favor that they have done to all of humanity, that we are the most generous people among all others, even if that foreign aid really comes back and is used for domestic industry. But people take pride. The Ansar gave half of their property to their Muhajirin. Refugees came and became as wealthy in Medina as the Ansar were within 10 years. Take a look at this civilized society. And one side message I want to give to Muslims is never lose the pride of the Islamic message. Never think that another society is more educated or more civilized or more advanced than your society. Because these examples that we find in history, they are there even today. Every Muslim country has been more generous with refugees in spite of being poorer than the wealthy countries of the West, without that kind of a arrogance and a pride. Whether it be Pakistan, whether it be Lebanon, whether it be Jordan, whether it be Syria itself, before the war they accepted millions of refugees from Iraq, from Lebanon, even from Turkey and from Jordan. Every Muslim country. And in this I would say Sunni and Shia are equal. So never look down on your own religion and say that we are backwards or we are emotional or we are not as civilized on these key measures of humanity. When somebody is in need, then those inspired by Islam have always been far more generous than those who say that our religion is love and your religion is an aggressive religion. That was just a footnote. But the point I was making is, Ahlul Bayt would say that who can do what the Ansar did for us? And even if we are related to Quraysh, but we are going to be on the side of the Ansar. And it was because those who were the most noble and honorable of Quraysh, Ahlul Bayt, the family of the Prophet himself, because they took the side of the Ansar, those fitna began to subside. Otherwise, it would be very easy for that old fight to continue to fester and even get worse. Sometimes it was between Quraysh and Ansar, sometimes it was between the Aus and the Khazraj themselves. And so in Surah Al-Hujurat, hadith tell us that it was a battle between Aus and Khazraj. Somebody said, my grandfather was the most generous, and somebody said, no, it was our grandfather who was the most noble. You were farmers and we were kings. Things like this kind of ignorant speech that even today sometimes we do find people say. What was the fight with? It was sandals and shoes. Because it was in Medina. In Medina they did not used to carry weapons at all times. It wasn't a battle. But it was just a quarrel. It was just a fight that you might have in a neighborhood. And Allah revealed verses of the Quran. But Allah knew that in the future the Muslims would face much more severe trials. And if you look at the huruf of the Quran, then your interest is going to be Well, who was it revealed about? What year of Hijrah was it? Was it the first year of Hijrah or was it the second year of Hijrah? Was it this Ansari or was it that Ansari who started it? Was it sandals or was it shoes? Was it one day or was it 3? This is the history. And some people are impressed. We have a very detailed tafsir. It gives us all of the history. Who cares about the history? In fact, I would go so far as to say that Allah revealed this verse at that time just because this was an excuse for Allah to give a message that was for the future. Otherwise, that fight between the Aus and the Khazraj is easy to forget. It's not going to have any lasting effect in history. But Allah knew that there was going to be the battle of Siffin. There was going to be the battle of Jamal. There was going to be the battle of Nahrawan. And Allah knew that there were going to be Muslims who would say that you are to follow even an oppressive government, even if it be Yazid, even if it be Walid ibn Abdul Malik, even if it be a tyrant. Because Allah knew that there would be people who say that this is a fitna, Amir al-Mu'mineen, we're not going to do islah, we're not going to come, and we are not going to support you. Because Allah knew what the future was going to hold, Allah revealed those verses earlier so Muslims could be ready when those future events came. And in fact, that we find a hadith that our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa he said, when this verse was revealed, in explaining this verse, Ya Ali, anta tuqatilu ala ta'wili kama qataltu ala tanzil. Oh Ali, you are going to be the one who is going to fight to establish the meaning of the Quran, just as I fought to establish the original revelation of the Quran. My job was to tell people what was the tanzil. What was the original source of these words? Your job, O Ali, is to take the Quran and to take the text and bring it alive to people so they understand the ta'wil of the text. So now, is it an exaggeration if somebody says, what is the meaning of Surah Al-Hujurat? For me to say, forget who were the Ansari poor people who fought with their sandals and with their shoes. Let me tell you the story of Imam Ali. Let me tell you the story of Imam Hussein. Let me tell you the story of those evil deeds that were set in motion in Saqifa, whose harm we are still suffering today. Nobody should say that's an exaggeration. The Shia make everything about Ahlul Bayt. You can have your history for history's sake, but we want history for salvation's sake. We want history for the sake of understanding what it means for our life. And that means that we have to understand the example of Ahlul Bayt alayhimu salatu wassalam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And that means that we keep alive the history and the memory in order for us to be inspired by that memory. This was the struggle of Imam Zain al-Abidin. And many people, they objected or they questioned the wisdom of Imam Zain al-Abidin's weeping and commemorating Karbala because they said that this is excessive. But Imam Zain al-Abidin wished to tell people that the wound of Karbala is still fresh. The injustice continues. If it had been just a historical oppression, then Imam Zain al-Abidin's tears may have come to an end. But because he knew that Karbala was an injustice that will continue until it is avenged by the Imam of our time, that as more time passed, the tears of the Imam became even more fresh and even more numerous. Because his pain, his memory, his grief at what he saw in Karbala did not heal with time. It increased with time as he saw those who were evildoers in Karbala continue to spread their evil and their oppression throughout the Muslim community. Imam, he kept alive each of those instances of sacrifice. Many of us, we remember the pain of Lady Sakina when she was separated from her beloved brother al-Asr. But just think that that grief for al-Asr was not exclusive to Lady Sakina. She was a sister, and so she had a sadness and a grief that an innocent sister could have when she saw her young brother dying of thirst. And then when Imam Hussein went to bring water for al-Asr, she saw the wounded body, bloodied body of her brother. And if we can imagine the pain of Lady Sakina at that grievous event, we can only imagine how much more severe was the pain of Imam Zainul Abidin, because he was an adult. He grieved as a brother, but he grieved because he saw the pain of Lady Rabah, and he grieved with his mother. He saw how much that martyrdom and the innocence of Ali Asghar had affected Imam Hussein, and he grieved as a father would grieve. He had so many different types of grief that had combined. And then he grieved because he was sick. He grieved because his father went alone before the enemy and brought back the body of his infant son. And Imam Zainul Abidin was not there even to share the burden of Imam Hussein. This was the grief of Imam Zainul Abidin that he remembered until the end of his life. 35 saal امام سجاد نے کربلا کا غم منایا اور کربلا کا غم یاد کیا. اور کئی دفعہ امام کے اپنے چاہنے والے، امام کے اپنے اصحاب آ کے عرض کرتے تھے، یا مولا ہمیں خوف ہے کہ اگر آپ اتنا گریے گا کریں گے، اتنا روئیں گے تو آپ کی اپنی صحت پہ اثر پڑے گا. تو امام کبھی جواب دیتے تھے کہ اے میرے چاہنے والوں، اے منہار، تم نے میرے ساتھ انصاف نہیں کیا. نبی اللہ یعقوب کا ایک یوسف کچھ برسوں کے لیے دور ہوا تھا، اور حضرت یعقوب کو معلوم تھا کہ یہ بیٹا دوبارہ ملے گا، لیکن اتنا گریہ کیا کہ قرآن نے ارشاد کیا کہ وَبْيَضَّتْ عَيْنَاهُ مِنَ الْحُزْنِ فَهُوَ كَظِيمٌ. اپنے آنسوؤں کو دباتے ہوئے اتنا گریہ کیا کہ آنکھوں کی روشنی چلی گئی، آنکھوں کی بینائی چلی گئی. ایک یوسف کے کھو جانے سے اتنا غم کیا، اتنا روئے حضرت یعقوب، اور میرے 18 یوسف میرے آنکھوں کے سامنے شہید ہوئے، اور تم کہتے ہو کہ میرے آنسو کہیں رک جائیں. منہال، یہ انصاف نہیں ہے. ایک چاہنے والے نے امام سے آ کے عرض کی کہ ابن رسول اللہ، اے امام، کیا شہادت آپ کی وراثت نہیں ہے؟ شہادت نصیب ہونے پہ اتنا رونا، اتنا غم؟ تو امام نے کہا اگر صرف شہادت کی بات ہوتی تو میں اتنا غم نہ مناتا. شہادت تو ہمارا ورثہ ہے، ہماری وراثت ہے، لیکن بتائیے کیا کوفہ و شام کی اسارت، کیا حرم رسول اللہ کا قید خانے میں راتیں گزارنا، کیا تاریکی میں جناب سکینہ کی شہادت اور ہاتھوں سے اس قبر کا بنانا اور اس قبر میں جناب سکینہ کا دفن ہونا، کیا یہ بھی آل رسول کی وراثت ہے؟ اگر میں کربلا کی مصیبت کو بھول جاؤں تو میں کوفہ و شام کی مصیبت کو کیسے بھول سکتا ہوں؟ کسی صحابی نے آ کے امام سے پوچھا کہ اے فرزند رسول، سب سے زیادہ آپ پہ مصیبتیں کہاں نازل ہوئیں؟ تو امام نے روتے ہوئے فرمایا الشام الشام الشام. ایک صحابی رسول سے شام کی بس ایک مصیبت سن لیجئے. سہل ساعدی صحابی رسول ہیں، اس سال سن 60 ہجری حج کو مشرف ہوئے تھے، حج سے واپس شام آ رہے تھے، تو خبروں سے سنا کہ ایک خارجی سے جنگ ہوئی ہے، خلیفے کو فتح ہوئی ہے، ان کی شکست ہوئی ہے. دل میں خوف آیا کہ یہ کیا خبر ہے جو شام دمشق میں پھیلی ہوئی ہے. آتے ہیں دمشق میں وارد ہوتے ہیں، دیکھتے ہیں کہ سروں میں کچھ پاک و پاکیزہ سر نیزوں کے اوپر سوار ہیں، اور ایک سر سے قرآن کی تلاوت ہو رہی ہے۔ اس سر کو صحابی رسول نے پہچان لیا، روتے ہوئے اپنے آپ کو آگے بڑھایا، دیکھا کہ امام زین العابدین، ہاتھوں میں ہتھکڑیاں، پاؤں میں بیڑیاں، گردن میں ایک طوق جس سے خون جاری ہے، سر جھکا کے کہا فرزند رسول مجھے نہیں معلوم تھا کہ آپ پہ کیا کیا مصیبتیں گری ہیں، کیا کیا مظالم نازل ہوئے ہیں، فرمائیے کیا میں آپ کی کوئی خدمت کر سکتا ہوں اس موقع پہ؟ جو کچھ بھی مجھ سے ہو سکے بتائیے، میں کیا کر سکتا ہوں؟ تو امام نے فرمایا کہ یہ جو آپ دیکھ رہے ہیں سامنے اشقیاء کے ہاتھوں میں نیزے ہیں اور ان پہ سر ہیں، ان کو کچھ اگر آپ کے پاس پیسہ ہے تو پیسہ دے دیجئے، ان سے کہیں کہ یہ سروں کو آگے لے جائیں، میں دیکھ رہا ہوں شام کے لوگ میری پھپھی زینب کو دیکھ رہے ہیں اور وہ اپنے سر کو بالوں میں چھپا رہی ہیں، میری غیرت گوارا نہیں کرتی کہ میں یہ منظر دیکھوں، اور اگر آپ کے پاس کچھ کپڑا ہو، ایک رومال ہو تو مجھے دے دیجئے، اس طوق نے آ کے میری گردن پہ اتنا زخم کر دیا ہے کہ یہ چپک گیا ہے، یہ لگ گیا ہے میری گردن سے۔ پہلے امام نے اپنی ناموس کا تذکرہ کیا اور بعد میں اپنی مصیبت اور اپنے درد کا تذکرہ کیا۔ اسی طرح سے امام نے اپنے آخری ایام تک کربلا کا غم منایا۔ جب امام کو زہر دیا گیا، شہید ہونے والے تھے، تو اپنے بستر پہ تمام اپنے اہل خانہ کو بلایا، امام باقر تشریف لائے، امام صادق اس وقت کم سن تھے، وہ تشریف لائے، اور جب امام زین العابدین نے اپنے تمام اہل خانہ کو اپنے سامنے جمع ہو کے دیکھا تو پھر ایک آخری مجلس کی کربلا نے کی امام سجاد نے اپنی بستر موت پر، اور کہا ہوگا کہ اے میرا بیٹا باقر، جب میں اس دنیا سے رخصت ہو جاؤں تو اس طرح سے جنازہ اٹھائیے گا، اس طرح سے مجھے مسجد النبی میں لے جانا، اس طرح سے مجھے اپنے دادا کی قبر، اپنی دادی کی قبر کی زیارت کے لیے لے جانا۔ اور پھر یقیناً امام نے کربلا کا رخ کیا ہوگا اور کہا ہوگا بابا میں آپ سے شرمندہ ہوں، میں جب اس دنیا سے رخصت ہو جاؤں گی میری موت بھی شہادت کی موت ہوگی، آپ کی موت بھی شہادت تھی، لیکن میرا جنازہ شان سے اٹھے گا اور شان سے تدفین ہوگی۔ ہائے بابا لا یومک یومک یا ابا عبداللہ، جب آپ اس دنیا سے رخصت ہوئے، جب آپ کی شہادت ہوئی تو میں نہ آپ کو کفن دے سکا، نہ آپ کی تدفین کا بندوبست کر سکا، لیکن ایک غربت تھی امام حسین کی اور ایک غربت ہے امام زین العابدین کی۔ اب جو زیارت کو جاتے ہیں، تو جب کربلا جاتے ہیں تو ہم دیکھتے ہیں کہ مزار ہے امام حسین کی، زیارت شان سے ہوتی ہے، لیکن بقیع کا زائر جب 4 اماموں کی زیارت کرنے کو جاتا ہے، جب جناب سیدہ کی زیارت کرنے کو جاتا ہے، تو امام ائمہ اور آل محمد کی غربت کو دیکھ کے آنسو آ جاتے ہیں کہ نہ مزار نہ زیارت کرنے دیتے ہیں، حتیٰ السلام علیکم یا اہل بیت النبوہ کہنے پر بھی ممانعت ہے اور رکاوٹ ہے۔ لا یومک یومک یا ابا عبداللہ، السلام علی الحسین وعلی علی ابن الحسین وعلی اولاد الحسین وعلی اصحاب الحسین۔ We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our ibadah, forgive our sins, and keep us on the path of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad in this life and in the hereafter.